and welcome to the show. Happy, I don't even know what day it is. I mean, they've kind of ran together. I think we're at Thursday. Are we at Thursday, Mike? Can I get a thumbs up? Yes. We have confirmation from producer Mike that it is officially not Friday and not Wednesday, which is good because, Wednesday means I still got, 2 more days before I work the weekend, and Friday means I shouldn't be here because we've changed our show schedule. So we're in the right spot. We're in the right spot doing the right thing, and that's a good thing. So, guys, I decided to do it. Yes, we were struggling today. What am I going to title the show? And I'm looking at the headlines, and I'm prepping for the show, and I'm looking at things, and I'm thinking about all of these things that are going on, and I see, well, let's see. We have no progress at all on Epstein. We have no progress at all on justice against corrupt Democrats. We have no progress at all on passing the SAVE Act. We have no progress at all on ending that Ukraine war that we were going to end within 5 minutes of Trump taking office. We have Todd Blanche, who's a POS, still running the DOJ. We still can't get anyone who's doing anything. We're still getting lies about, basically everything. We're still pushing mRNA. Children are still in danger, frankly, even if they're not next to one of the Epstein pedophiles. It's just not good. It's just not good. And so I said, what am I gonna title the show today? What am I gonna do? And so I decided, you know what, we're just going all in on drama. We're gonna call it Doomsday in America, because that's what it feels like we're facing. And I thought about it, and I was like, how do you open up a show titled Doomsday? I mean, it's just, I'm going to admit something here, folks. I looked at Twitter to see what was trending, and Doomsday was trending because the new Marvel, the Doomsday movie, it's like the Avengers Doomsday movie, so it's trending. And I thought, maybe we'll get someone who's, like a leftist or, some kid that's into comic books, and they see this because, it's trending and picks up the keyword. And it's like, they listen to this and they freak out or stroke out, or, we'll trigger some leftists or something. Because I always get a boot out of thinking, maybe a leftist will see this and lose their mind. And, it just makes me happy if I can do that. I don't know why. I get this feeling of joy when I can bring truth to leftists, and, anyways, I'm demented. It's all good though. But so I was thinking about what could I do to open a show about Doomsday in America? And I was looking, I was like, you know what? I think I need to do a clip, and I need to find just the right clip to capture how I feel about the news cycle today. And I looked, folks, and I couldn't find it. And then I found it. I think that if we're going to talk about Doomsday in America, we're going to look at and we're going to really look deeply at the news cycle in America today. I found the clip that really embodies how I feel about it. Mike, can we put this on? This is from Instagram. Let's put this on the screen. And this is how I feel.
You are a good boy, say I will. If you are a good boy, say I will. If you are a good boy, then you really are a good boy. If you are a good boy, say I will.
Okay, I love this dog. That's how I feel about the news side. It doesn't even make sense. It's just ridiculous. So you might as well look at dogs that are saying "awoo" and be happy about it, because there's just nothing else that's happening that makes not even a little bit of sense. Nothing. The world has gone to hell. It's going to hell. America's going down the toilet, but the dog's happy. I looked at my dogs today, and I checked with them, and they didn't they wanted to eat a hot dog or a doggy treat, and they wanted to go outside and chase bunny rabbits, but they really didn't care too much about the news cycle today. So I figured I'd talk about dogs to open this up, because it's less depressing than the news cycle, and we need something happy in our lives, right? Okay. Let's get back to business here. We actually have some important things to talk about. We're going to talk about corruption. One of the things that, listen, we're not going to let the Epstein list go ever until the child rapists go to jail, until the people who raped children. And by the way, I'm past having the argument that this happened. Okay. At this point, we had a guy who for 30 years, it was common knowledge all over this country that he ran a child rape ring for elites and that elites were raping children. Everybody knew it. It was common. It just everybody knew it, right? There were prosecutions, there were cover-ups. Everybody knew what was happening, including Pam Bondi when she was AG in Florida. And, Epstein was still running his child rape ring after the plea deal. And she did nothing other than cover it up in Florida because she apparently doesn't care if children are raped. And it makes good sense that she would continue covering it up then as AG because, well, she didn't care if they did it in Florida, so why would she care now? But she resigned because she was getting subpoenaed to talk about the Epstein child rape ring. And now because Mike Johnson is a sellout and a piece of crap, there doesn't seem to be any will to hold her in contempt of Congress, although I don't know why it is that they would hold the Clintons in contempt, but not her when she was just egregiously violating the law by not disclosing what she was supposed to. I don't know who's worse, her or the Clintons. The Clintons are probably worse. I mean, they do have a higher body count, I think, as far as I know. She did run the FBI, though, so who knows? Anyway, oh boy. Did I mention the dog? Has anybody seen the dog? We're going to play the dog again because the dog is awesome. Mike, let's play the dog again. I want to hear the dog again. Let's put this back up. Here it is.
Good boy, say I woo.
Woo.
If you are a good boy, say I woo.
Woo. Here we go. Do it again for me, Fido.
If you are a good boy,
he is a good boy.
You are a good boy. If you are a good boy, say I woo.
Oh, good puppy. I want to give that doggy a treat. He is a good puppy. I don't know. Find that tweet on Instagram and share it because everybody should see it. It'll make them happy. If you don't like dogs, you're a communist. Anyways, we're going to have Katie on. Katie's been with us before from V1 SUT. Katie is awesome. She brought us a whole bunch of information about the epic failure that is the Oklahoma Child Services and how they medically kidnapped a child and put him with a couple gay guys who were apparently perverts and messed up and did some horrible, horrible things. And she did a great job on that story. And I'm excited to have her back because she's doing continued work. And I like to focus on Oklahoma. And the reason I like Oklahoma is, first of all, because my friend, my dear, dear friend is the head of the GOP there. I mean, we love Charity. She's awesome. And so, she's doing a good job. She's trying to actually clean up the Republican Party, which is almost like trying to clean up the Democrat Party. They just lie better. Oklahoma's a red state in the union. So if this is happening in Oklahoma, it's happening everywhere. So Katie's got some really interesting info on how some of the corruption in the schools is happening. We're going to get to that in a second, but it's a very, very big deal. Before we do, I'm a grifter. So I know because when I look at the comments on X, they vary between, thank you, Renz, for sharing actual real information and not being a liar and a sellout, and you're a grifter. Well, okay, so grifter's got a grift. Please support us. GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. Go to www.givesendgo.com/RenzLaw and support us. We need your donations. Your donations allow me to keep telling the truth and to keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, I'm not going to tell the truth from under a bridge in Buckman. If I got it, I don't care. But if you can help us, I'd rather not live under a bridge in Buckman. I'd rather tell you the truth you guys remember Elmer Fudd? He's, hello, my name is Elmer Fudd. I'm a billionaire. I own a mansion and a yacht. You guys remember that? I might be the only person here so old that I remember Elmer Fudd saying that. But, he was in the cartoons. I would rather be a millionaire with a mansion and a yacht. That's not likely because I'm not for sale, but, I'm just going to keep grifting until I can, or at least try to. So please, GiveSendGo.com/RenzLaw. Help me to be like Elmer Fudd. Also, go to TomRenz.com, www.TomRenz.com. Support our sponsors. Always, I want to remind you guys, my top two sponsors, Global Healing. Global Healing, and they've got, listen, anything you buy from Global Healing, globalhealing.com/TomRenz, globalhealing.com/TomRenz. Whatever you get from there is great, but I love their men's hormone support. It's what Lindsey Graham is missing. If Lindsey Graham had any male hormones at all, maybe he'd want to quit playing with little boys as wands or bubble wands or, whatever it is he wants to play with, and would, start acting like a man instead of a sellout coward, whatever he is, and likes playing with little kids' wands. I mean, bubble wands. I mean, I don't want to misspeak. So support globalhealing.com/Tom Renz. Don't tell them that I said this, because they probably, it's a little controversial, but anyways, support them. Men's hormone support. What we ought to do is we ought to see if we can get anybody to buy crates of men's hormone support and send them to Lindsey Graham, because clearly he needs some men's hormone support. That would be a funny thing. Maybe we'll do a campaign to raise money to buy Lindsey Graham men's hormone support so that he can actually start acting like a man instead of I don't know what he is. But I just know that I don't know any other men that want to play with bubble wands in Disneyland that have never had a child. And there's something wrong there, folks. Was he on the Epstein list? No, not that I know of. That's just a rumor. Also, Hale and Associates, protect your financial wealth. As our economy continues to collapse, it's good to know where to put your money. Hale and Associates, they are a fiduciary. They will take care of you over themselves, because that's the right thing to do, and that's what fiduciaries do. Call them if you need some help figuring out where to put your money. They will do it. They are wonderful people. HaleandAssociates.net/Renz. And today, we are talking about my friends and look at all these guys, by the way. Just anyone that's on our list is good. Anywhere you need to shop, anything you need, you can get from my list. Just go there. You get discounts on all of it. Today, I want to talk about Make Wellness. Make's got some great products. Oral peptides, right? Oral peptides. Love the stuff. Love the oral peptides. Their Fit product is my favorite, right? So make sure you're checking out the Fit. If you work out, use the Fit. It will help you. It will. It's a noticeable difference. It's not like a crappy supplement. You can't tell you're taking it. It's a legit thing, and it works. It's a great thing. It really helps you with the workout stuff. I'm old. I'm 49. I'm pushing 1,000. I look like I'm 2,000, but you know what? I still work out great. I still feel great. I'm in good shape for an old dude. Make Wellness. Make use of it. If you're going to work out, you're going to take care of yourself, you might as well take every advantage that you can. Make Wellness will do that. It's natural. It's not going to poison you. It comes from bioactive precision peptides. Just wonderful, wonderful stuff. Like the Make Wellness products. All right. So let's get to this. I've drifted and rambled enough. And I kind of want to play the dog again. We might play the dog again before the show's over. Also, hey, Mike, producer Mike, for some reason, I'm not seeing, I can't see. All I'm seeing is the Make screen and instead of the control panel. I don't know if you can fix that or not, but if you can, that would be useful for me. Sorry, show notes here. We got to make sure that everything is perfect and highly professional. As a not so highly trained broadcast professional who could never be half of what Rush Limbaugh was, I do try and do my best here. So anyways, I'm going to talk with Katie, and I want to bring Katie on. And again, I want to stress this to you guys. One of the things that's absolutely critical for you guys to understand, every single county in Oklahoma voted for Donald Trump, every one of them. And Oklahoma is the reddest state in the union. When I go to Oklahoma, if I tell, hey, Charity, I want to come down to Oklahoma. Let's do an event. And this actually happened. Charity, I'm going to be in Oklahoma. Oh, great. Let's do an event. Okay. I'm going to be there Wednesday. We can't. You can't do events on Wednesday. What? Why can't I do events on Wednesday? Well, because Wednesday's church day. What? I thought Sunday was church day. Well, it is. But so is Wednesday. That's Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma is a state where if you go to Wednesday nights like Sunday, everybody goes to church. And that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. It's not something I'm used to hearing because I'm not a good enough Christian to live in Oklahoma. I wish I was. I think they would throw me out because, well, I'm a lawyer, so I'm lucky to have a soul. But that's Oklahoma. It's a wonderful state. The people there are amazing. They were 100% MAGA. They're 100% America First. And that's the core of Oklahoma, but yet they still have this huge rhino problem. So I want to talk about what's happening there, because if we talk about Oklahoma, we're going to understand what's happening in every crooked Republican state in the country. So, hey, Mike, can you put Katie on the screen here? Let's pull Katie up, and let's have a little conversation about what's happening in Oklahoma. How are you doing today, Katie?
I am great. Thanks so much for having me back. And everyone who knows me knows dogs and kids make me happy. So that was a very good entrance.
Well, that's awesome. Because that means you're not a communist, because only communists don't like dogs.
Correct.
That might be a little harsh, but and I'm sorry to my guys who are more like cat people, but cats poop in a box in your house, and I like kitties enough, but I just don't want something pooping in my house. I just can't get behind that. So I'm a dog guy. Anyways, Katie, you are doing some work, and you've been digging into the schools, if I'm not mistaken. Tell me a little bit about what you got going on.
I absolutely have. And as you said, deep red Oklahoma. I mean, we are in this state. When you talk to people, you'll find out quickly it's God, family, and country. But for some reason, our public schools are failing, and they're about as progressive as they can be. We also have a massive child sexual abuse problem in our schools that they don't want to address. So I've been watching this for several years, doing in-depth reporting on a lot of these cases. And I came to realize, everyone points at the unions, the education unions, that there are some bigger forces at work here, and there are some bigger piles of money. And as I've dug into this, I realized this may have started in Oklahoma, but it's affecting all school children in America. So I really wanted to bring it to your platform and see if we can get it out there. If it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, because I'm going to run through a few things about what's going on here.
Please do. I want to see what you got going on here. So let's see. Yeah. And folks, this is really, like I said, I cannot stress to you how crucial this is. We are now looking at a situation where if it's happening in Oklahoma, trust me, it doesn't matter if you got a Republican state, because you ain't more Republican in Oklahoma. So if it's happening everywhere. So let's see. So Mike, let's bring this up so we can see what Katie's got here on her screen. Okay. This is interesting to me. So what do we got here?
Yes. What we've got here, really, in Oklahoma, like in many states, people don't really understand that public education is a massive part of state budgets. In Oklahoma, it is $6 billion of our $12 billion state annual budget. So it is half of the money that is spent by our government. And with that money, government wants to grow and the grifters come around. And we have all kinds of political problems and political parasites around this money. Now in Oklahoma, for all the money that we're spending, half of our budget, we have a huge problem with student performance. At this point, only 1 in 4 children in Oklahoma is proficient in the major subject areas. So for all of that money we're spending, like a lot of the country, our performance rates have gone down drastically in recent years. And when I started the publication, v1sut.com, I started with a series that was called How to Steal a State. And the whole premise of it was that the forces, the global forces and the leftist forces that were trying to take over deep red Oklahoma were coming through education. And I tracked some of the trends that were happening there. Education in Oklahoma was actually under the control of Democrats for years and years and years. A woman named Sandy Garrett was our state superintendent of education for about 20 years. And then the voters, during the Tea Party era, they voted in term limits. So Sandy Garrett had to go. And Lo and behold, Oklahomans voted in a Republican who tried to make some change. And what we saw there was all of the Republican politicians turned against her. The governor, who appoints most of our state board of education, except for that one chair, which is our state superintendent, who's elected by we the people, flipped the board, basically changed all the members of the board to attack her agenda. And we saw this huge political shift to try and get this person out. They were not going to let go of public education.
Your Republican governor, I want to stress this. The Republican governor stacked the board against the person that the people voted in who was trying to reform the education system.
We've seen that happen every time a truly conservative Republican gets the seat of state superintendent. It just happened again with Ryan Walters. If you're familiar with State Superintendent Ryan Walters.
Yep. We do. We loved Ryan. Ryan, we found, he was doing all sorts of things. And for anybody that doesn't know, Ryan's the guy who pushed to have the Bible included in the schools. It was a huge story nationally. He was a rock star as a state superintendent, and it really actually was quite successful in getting a lot of things done. So, kudos to Ryan Walters.
Yes. Well, I want to walk you through something that happened back then when that first Republican governor got the reins of education. The whole system turned on her, and they appointed to the board a woman named Joy Hoffmeister. Joy Hoffmeister got onto the board, started stirring up a lot of dirt on the State Board of Education, and the media ran with it. It was all the narratives against the conservative Republican superintendent at the time. Unfortunately for Hoffmeister, she got into some huge trouble. She had used dark money to get into office, and she and two political consultants, very notorious political consultants who are in charge of all of the rhinos still in our state,
Always the consultants.
Yep.
Always.
And two education union heads, the head of the teachers union in Oklahoma, one of them.
Wait a second. Wait. You're telling me that the Republican governor put two teachers unions?
No. These are, so let me explain. 5 people were indicted when Joy Hoffmeister became the state superintendent. They were not going to tolerate a truly conservative superintendent. So she was handpicked by the education establishment to get onto the board, to stir up all kinds of dirt and controversy, and cause the truly conservative superintendent to not be reelected. So they ran Joy Hoffmeister for the position, and she won. But unfortunately for her, two political consultants and 2 education union heads were indicted for using illegal dark money behind the scenes, coordinating that dark money to knock out the people's elected representative. So in watching that, we learned some really interesting things that the media didn't want to notice. So this is all going down. She came into office in 2014. She was reelected in 2018. So this is happening around 2016. What no one wanted to ask was this dark money group that overthrew sort of the people's conservative choice. Where did the money come from? And it's all within the investigation here. And this is part of what I want to show. American Fidelity Assurance is a gigantic insurance company. They're out of Oklahoma. And the investigation into those indictments show that they gave 2 $50,000 checks, one to the teachers union and one for the school administrators union. And that was funneled into this dark money that was used to run all of these ads to bash that incumbent superintendent. Now, a man named Bill Cameron is the owner of American Fidelity Insurance. He actually, this is a huge company. American Fidelity has about 12 subsidiaries under it. One of them, Insurica, is the largest education insurer in the nation. So they write all kinds of policies for districts, teacher liability policies, all of those kind of things. And Bill Cameron is the owner of American Fidelity. Now, Bill Cameron, this is going to sound strange, but I'm going to the NBA. this is pertinent.
We see a few problems with NBA owners.
We do. So Bill Cameron is also part of a group of owners that brought the NBA to Oklahoma City in the Oklahoma City Thunder. And he, along with his co-owners, there's a man named George Kaiser. So let's go back to this woman is indicted. She is definitely a rhino. She's indicted with the political consultants and the education unions. And a man named George Kaiser, who's also a co-owner with this insurance company owner of the Thunder, funds her legal defense fund. They create a legal defense fund, and he and sort of the circle of the richest people in Oklahoma around this owner of American Fidelity, who has given the money to this dark money group, they fund the defense of this state superintendent.
Wow.
And everyone just kind of ignored it like it wasn't a big deal. And George Kaiser, he's out of Tulsa. He's in oil and in banking. And if you remember back in the Obama years, there was a scandal about a company called Solyndra.
I
And
remember
Solyndra,
that.
do you remember that?
I do remember
It was a
that.
solar panel company, and they got loans from the Obama administration, the Energy Department, of about $535 million to do all kinds of solar panels, which didn't happen. And they went bankrupt. And then Kaiser, who was behind Solyndra, did a lot of campaign bundling for Obama. A lot of that money went back into those Democrat campaigns. So that's who he is.
Which, by the way, it's worth noting that this is how this works. The leftists and the rhinos in D.C. fund these special interest groups. This is what Doge was dealing with. This is an example of USAID, Doge, all these different groups. They fund these NGOs. They fund these different groups. They fund these political cronies that donate to their campaigns, but they donate to their campaigns in the same way that we're talking about here. Dark money, super PACs, different things like that. They're dirty, dirty money, but we're using, and this is pioneered by George Soros. Soros was a genius at this. Let's use people's money and government grants and government corruption to fund the destruction of our own country. Soros doesn't fund it out of his pocket. He uses tax money through NGOs and different things like that. I mean, that's the brilliance, the evil brilliance. I mean, you're just a monster of George Soros, right?
Oh, sure. And George Kaiser was involved with another nonprofit that was the biggest LGBT advocacy sort of nonprofit here in Oklahoma. And we found out after the Doge efforts that most of that money was actually funneled through USAID. So it wasn't even George Kaiser as the philanthropist. I like to call them manipulanthropists because they're actually not even using their own money. But the gentleman who created this defense fund for Joy Hoffmeister to save her, their chosen superintendent, is a man named Henry Primo. He is actually a Tulsa auto dealer. He's had all kinds of auto dealerships all over Tulsa, a very wealthy man, and he's very publicly involved with all kinds of sports in Oklahoma, including the Thunder. And there's a picture here of him next to Kevin Durant back in those days.
You're not going to suggest to me that a used car salesman is untrustworthy, are you?
Yes, I am. He actually was also involved with the Chamber of Commerce. So that makes him a used car salesman who was involved with the Chamber of Commerce. So
yeah, that's even worse.
That's a double whammy. But when all these folks got involved, they did this defense fund. It's all sort of an arm's length away from Cameron, who's the one who gave the money, this dark money. They're all sort of protecting that. Then suddenly a district attorney in Oklahoma County walked up to a microphone, had a press conference, and said, "We have all kinds of new information on this case into the dark money. We're going to dig into it, but we'll get back to you, public. For right now, we're going to drop all of these indictments."
Well, I mean, this sounds like someone from the Pam Bondi DOJ. Well, we're going to get back to you because we found new information. Like, the political donors don't want us looking into this, so we're going to look somewhere else.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. So they saved her. She ran for re-election. She had 8 years running Oklahoma's public education system, and she nosedived it. Education quality we went from 17th in the nation in Oklahoma in her 8 years to 49th. It was almost as though they intended to run the ship aground. Almost, right? Not only were our schools less effective, by the time she was done, they were less safe ideologically, less safe physically. We had an epic child sexual abuse problem in our schools. And I'm going to give you just a couple of examples because I think people will be shocked that this is deep red Oklahoma and what's happening. One story I broke back then, this was probably 22 or 23, was that one of the districts, a sizable district, hired a drag queen by night, elementary school principal by day, and he had previous child pornography charges. This was in a district called Western Heights. And I couldn't believe after they were outed that they refused to fire him. He had previously had child pornography charges while he was a fifth grade teacher in Stillwater Schools, where Oklahoma State University is. So I started digging into the culture of this district, going, what are we seeing?
Look at
What
these
is
headlines.
These are all images from articles from V1SUT. They had half the drag bar in town working at these schools. There was a gentleman in the bottom right who was busted, hired by the drag queen principal, who was busted for soliciting sex with a 15-year-old boy online by a great group here in Oklahoma called Oklahoma Predator Prevention, who does stings on these things, trying to protect kids.
Wow.
It was the drag queen principal had a huge DUI sitting out there in court records with a probable cause from the police had done all the good work. And the DA, to this day, 5 years later, has never prosecuted it. These people were just incredibly protected.
Now, wait a second. Just because, we believe very deeply in political correctness here. So we clearly, you're not suggesting to me that maybe someone who is a drag queen and who's into child porn is less than ideal as a principal, are you? I mean, that's not where we're going. Clearly, that would be insane. The kids are clearly safe with drag queen child porn people. What the hell is happening in Oklahoma?
Here's the shocking part. The
More
board
than
knew.
that?
Yes, the school board of this Western Heights Public Schools, and by the way, this is one of the lowest performing districts in the entire state, and that's saying a lot since we're
Shocking.
now 49th. We have this thing called an academic achievement score that measures the kids in school, how ready they are for the next grade, the next thing that's coming. Their academic achievement score for the district was 2% out of 100%.
Wow.
And yet they're not willing to make any changes in this culture, and they're not going to fire these people. So I learned a lot in watching this group over the years. There was a lot of grifting going on. So the progressive narrative is not really that they care about kids. There's money moving here. There was this man here that you see down at the bottom. His name is Dr. Chris Culver, and he was a district administrator at that district. That's actually him in the top left corner that looks like a woman. He's also a cross-dresser.
Oh, wow.
He funneled contracts to his significant other, who was the man to the right of him in the sash. He was Mr. Gay, Oklahoma, at one point. He funneled school contracts and paid him $72,000, his significant other, in school tax money for 28 days of training.
So I feel like we're libs of TikTok right now. I mean, it's like we're filing, this is almost like a joke, except for it's not.
It's not a joke. So they would not fire this person. Ryan Walters was the superintendent by then. And when we outed this, they would not let him go. He had to fight a year. And finally, when I brought out the grifting of the contracts, they let him go. But
Is it grifting worse than mine? By the way, givesendgo.com/Renzlaw, givesendgo.com/Renzlaw. Please donate. They grift worse than us.
Your grifting is legal and it's not on tax dollars. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's true.
But then just a year and a half later, after he'd been run out of that district for hiring all these dangerous people and grifting money, districts in Oklahoma were hiring him to come give pep talks to their teachers before the school year started. They were paying him $3,500 to show up to do a keynote pep rally for their teachers. And they were paying his significant other thousands and thousands of dollars to train their teachers on culture. So when you look at the upper echelon of Oklahoma education, the superintendents, those folks, they are fully in on this. And they're finding ways, no matter how you expose it, to keep the tax dollars flowing for this. Now, last month, that same man was paid thousands and thousands of dollars by the state to speak at a conference that was supposed to be about child safety and well-being. This is the man that hired a drag queen with past porn charges to be an elementary school principal. And our Department of Human Services, the OCCY, which is oversight for child welfare, and our Mental Health and Substance Abuse Department paid him to headline their conference on child safety. So
this isn't a joke. This isn't a parody, folks. There's nothing about this that's a parody. We're actually telling this is real in the reddest state in the union.
Proven. So We're watching. Joy Hoffmeister's years turned things so progressive. The other thing that there's so many examples of, I was digging in and doing these long form investigative series on child sexual abuse in schools. We had 30-year pedophiles who'd been protected. I followed groups of coaches who had abused girls, some of them drugged and raped high school girls. And when they were accused, they passed the trash. They allowed them to resign. They kept moving to different districts. Parents were not aware what was moving into their town. So we're following this the whole time. And Ryan Walters comes on the scene. And he, for the first time that we've ever seen, takes it seriously. He starts hiring these seasoned investigators to look into claims of child abuse. He sets up a system where parents can bypass their districts who are trying to hide the abuse and go straight to the State Department of Education. And his investigators are doing a super thorough job. There's times when I'm throwing them information, victims that don't want to go public with me, but they can get justice there and they can get these people out of classrooms. So they start doing a great job, and they start suspending through the State Board of Education has to vote on these things. They look at the evidence and the investigations, suspending and revoking a record number of teacher certifications. And that's when it got crazy for Ryan Walters. That's when the pushback really started.
Because I mean, let's think about this, folks. Pushback because Ryan Walters is actually pulling licenses from drag queen child porn possessing perverts who are trying to teach your kids. I don't know what they're trying to teach them, but I'm guessing nothing that I want them taught. And I mean, folks, Red Oklahoma. I just want to keep reminding you, Red Oklahoma.
Yep. Absolutely. So they're coming after him, and the media is just complicit. The media is saying he's too aggressive with this. Teacher livelihoods are hanging in the balance. No one's talking about the kids. So I'm reporting and I'm watching. And let me tell you, watching a group of uniparty legislators try to take him out for what he was doing. This is just some of the articles I wrote about this strategy of coming after him. Here they are. These are the uniparty legislators. This is leadership in our state legislature sitting in the State Board of Education boardroom, demanding to get into the executive sessions of the State Board of Education. Now, Tom, I will tell you, the only thing, very few things happen that the State Board of Education has to go behind closed doors. They go behind closed doors to talk about the sensitive details of teacher misconduct cases like sexual abuse. And these legislators, for the first time ever, these people did not show up at these meetings. I have covered these meetings for a long time. They started showing up at this time. What do they all have in common? There are Republicans here, there are Democrats here. A lot of them are former educators, and all of them took campaign contributions from American Fidelity Assurance, the big education insurer. Even our Attorney General's campaign had funding from American Fidelity Insurance.
What's his name?
And so Gentner Drummond, he's trying to be the governor.
Gentner Drummond, the former AG, is now trying to be the governor, probably Republican, and he's taken money from these same people that are funding perverts.
He is, and so what he did was he stepped in and he overturned a 45-year precedent from a previous attorney general and said, yes, these legislators need to be allowed into an executive session of the State Board of Education. It's actually, the precedent is for all boards and commissions at the state level, which changes so much in Oklahoma. But it was really because of this board that he did this. So these legislators wanted to come in there. He had these details. They wouldn't sign non-disclosures, that they weren't going to spread this information, this very painful private information about families. So they just stopped suspending and revoking licenses of these educator predators for months. And again, these folks were all sort of funded in lots of ways by American Fidelity, whether it was the heavy steak dinners that you can see on their expense accounts, the direct contributions to their campaign accounts. And that's when we see things got really bad for Ryan Walters, and Governor Kevin Stitt, Republican, flipped the entire state school board. He removed all of the parent advocates, the more grassroots people, and he replaced them with some major conflicts of interest. Some of them were sort of business conflicts of interest. One, the gentleman on the right here, he is the spouse of the founder and head of one of our state teachers' unions. So Governor Stitt put a man on the board whose wife's organization would be providing the legal defense for the teachers who were accused of harming children and were coming before the board to have their licenses suspended or revoked. It was this massive conflict of interest, but it was obvious that they wanted Walters gone. So they did. Walters actually, they flipped the board. He had absolutely no power. Every vote was against him. He resigned and he went to the Teacher Freedom Alliance. And since then, I've been writing a series about the return of the public ed deep state. And if you think it couldn't have gotten worse, it absolutely has gotten worse. Stitt appointed Lindell Fields as the new appointed, not elected. We no longer have any elected representation on having anything to do with public education in Oklahoma. Lindell Fields is with career tech and workforce development. Many of the previously investigated and removed educators are being reinstated.
Wait. So the people who were investigated and removed, and some of them because they were perverts, are being reinstated.
Some of them are, and it's our attorney general. Okay, so our attorney general, I'm the only one that's reported this. Our attorney general has reached into the State Department of Education, and so far he's grabbed 13 cases of educator misconduct. These were teachers who were already suspended based on evidence, voted by the board, and they were on the process to being completely revoked of their teaching certifications. There's a due process. They get to defend themselves. They get to have legal counsel. They get to present evidence. They were headed, the board had said, we want to push them toward revocation. Gantner Drummond reached in and grabbed those cases and brought them to his office, which is not legal. Our state law does not allow him to do this. These are not criminal cases. These are administrative cases. Nobody's going to jail. They're losing their certifications. And since he's done that, 6 of the 13 have been reinstated.
Wow.
What he's doing.
He's running for governor.
He's running for governor.
So the guy running for governor, the AG of Oklahoma, who's running for governor, has basically undermined the position of the Department of Education, Ryan Walters, who was advocating for Bibles in the schools. He's undermined his position, has gotten in the way, and is pushing for perverts who are losing their license to get their license back.
People who abuse kids. Let me give you an example of just one of those 13. This gentleman was a high needs special education teacher, and he physically abused a 6-year-old nonverbal, severely autistic boy in front of witnesses at the school. He was immediately arrested. I have all the documents. This was a very abusive case. He also has 3 adopted children from our child welfare system, 3 special needs children at home. This is an LGBTQ single male. And instead of being prosecuted for abusing the 6-year-old autistic boy, they have decided that they're not going to prosecute him, and the attorney general has grabbed his certification case. If it goes like the other 6 of the 13 so far that I'm watching, he will be reinstated.
Why is it? I mean, this is something we need to understand. So why does Epstein files matter? Why does this matter? For some reason, there is just this affinity between these deep state thugs, these people who want to run the world, and perverts. I don't know what the deal is, but this whole let's abuse children thing, I mean, this is just the thing. If you want to make money and be a part of the deep state, apparently you need to be a pervert into child abuse. And that's even happening. Guys, this is happening at teacher level in Oklahoma. What do you think is happening in Washington, D.C.? Because if if this is happening to low-level teachers in Oklahoma, and you can see it coming from the Obama money on down, it's coming from the top on down. this is why we can't let the Epstein files go. We have to start rooting out these perverts at the very top. We have to start putting these people in jail. This perverse child sex abuse thing is happening from top to bottom. It's happening everywhere, yet nobody wants to talk about it, from Donald Trump on down. And in fact, Pam Bondi is actively protecting it as far as I'm concerned.
You just made a really good point. You have to ask yourself, why are all these people, these politicians, these people who seek access to kids for nefarious reasons, all of these forces moving in the same direction to make our kids so unsafe? And this is the point that I want to make. We talk about the unions, but if you look at the unions, and right here on the left, there's a comparison. This is one of the teachers' unions in Oklahoma comparing its benefits to another teachers' union. And then over on the right is the school administrators union in Oklahoma. The big carrot is that they provide liability insurance to teachers and to school administrators. So they are going to defend them if they are accused of doing something to a child. Without that liability insurance, no one's joining the union. Teacher is saying, you're taking $50 a month out of my check every time. It's not happening. So if that system doesn't work, then the whole financial system crumbles. And if these policies for the unions that cover all these teachers, if they get hit too often with suits about child sexual abuse, then the whole house of cards financially crumbled. These union heads are not making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. They have no carrot to get people into the unions. They are failing. And that's what I think people need to understand. And it's not like car insurance. They're not giving Miss Johnson, the fourth grade teacher, her own separate policy on a piece of paper, and they're not rating her that she's never had any accusation against her. They're lumping them all together. I mean, can you imagine if you crash your car, you're going to pay more for insurance. If you crash your car 3 or 4 times, you're going to be uninsurable. That is not how it works with predator teachers. They are all lumped together, and they are all protecting these policies and making sure that they don't get hit, which is why they're trying to keep them certified, keep them in the classroom, and keep the policies from being hit.
Wow.
It's shocking, isn't it?
Well, it's. I wish it was. Honestly, at this point, it's not. I mean, we can absolutely look at this. We can trace the money. You know who we need to get you with is one of the people. We got to get you with Data Republican and have her do a little bit of digging into this. I would love to see Data Republican tie in with some of what you're doing here, because the thing about this is and she's just amazing at pulling out the money. But
yes,
if you follow the money, it always takes you to the right side. There's 2 ways to understand what's happening in this world. 1, follow the money. 2, follow the law. So what I do, because, I got that lawyer thing, I follow the law. I see, what are we writing? What are we doing? And you look at who they're protecting and who they're trying to ensure we can't go after, and where they're trying to provide immunity or legal protection, or this, that, and other. And that's what insurance does in many cases. I mean, ultimately, even if your car insurance, the big thing with your car insurance is when you get in the car wreck, no insurance company is going to pay anything unless you got the lawyers involved. I mean, they'll pay the very minimal, but the reason you're going to get hosed unless you get the lawyers involved. So in this case, and this is a brilliant find. I mean, honestly, Katie, this is really a huge deal. The connection between protecting pervert teachers around the country, and I'm saying around the country. I know your work has been in Oklahoma, but if it's happening there, it's happening everywhere. The protection for perverts and these sickos and these psychos, I mean, even if they're not a pervert, we see around the country a major push to miseducate, to uneducate, to teach things that are irrelevant. This garbage teaching we're seeing in the public schools. We've all known that this is a Democrat game for years and years and years. Remember when Trump was going to shut down DOE, by the way, Department of Education, not Department of Energy, Department of Education. Remember when he was going to do that and he didn't, because we're still there and we're still funding it? Well, this whole thing is a racket from the top down, 100%. And you got to wonder how many particularly with the egregious focus on sex crimes that we're hearing, and this is happening. This culture of perversion from the top down is, I mean, we're talking about now your kids, guys, your kids. It seems like this is actually something that's not just predictable, but makes sense.
It's quantifiable. Let me show you what people should be looking for in their states. In Oklahoma, we have this thing called the Oklahoma School Insurance Group, and they had to pass legislation to do this. So this basically gloms all these districts and everything that the districts own into one group for insurance. But as long as our Attorney General under the statute approves, they can partner. These tax dollars can partner with private business to sort of manage how this is going to look. Guess who they're partnering with? The big insurance companies, right? And this is from OSIG. This is from that really big group. In Oklahoma, it shows their largest claims against them. We expect property claims. We expect right here, they see on the left, wind and hail are their biggest property claims. But then look at their 5 largest liability claims. This is in their annual report. They are all sexual misconduct suits. And you notice they're all around $1 million. That's the portion that insurance has to pay when these districts get sued for failing to protect kids from an internal predator. So they know this is very real. They know it's happening and they want to hide it. American Fidelity itself is a juggernaut, and it's not just in Oklahoma. They're $2 billion a year. They're $11 billion in assets, and they serve 4,500 school districts across the country. They serve 5,500 education unions. We only have like 5 education unions in Oklahoma. So this is absolutely everywhere that they're working. And we know they're using dark money. We saw it in Oklahoma. We know they're doing a ton of campaign contributions. This graph is just one of their PACs, one American Fidelity PAC, and it shows from 1990 up to 2024. In the green is how much money they're putting in, and in the yellow is how much they're feeding out to politicians. In Oklahoma, American Fidelity out of this one PAC has given 370 campaign donations at every level of our government, to legislators, attorney generals, governors. It's everywhere. Their money is influencing absolutely everyone. And they have, this right here is just currently the lobbyists they have running around our Capitol that are
just in Oklahoma. This isn't the federal lobbyists. These are the state lobbyists in Oklahoma only. They have that many.
They have that many, and they are, they have to declare where they're lobbying. They're lobbying to the insurance department, to the education committees. They're lobbying to the judiciary committees. And the last thing that I really want to show is that they have changed our laws to protect these policies. In 2013, legislators got some things through to basically put up penalties for anyone who puts up a false accusation against a school staff member. And that law has been used. I have interviewed victims of sexual abuse in schools. They and their families say that law is used to intimidate them not to disclose. So they go to the counselor, they go to the administrator, and they're like, honey, you better be right, because if you're not, your parents can be arrested and they can pay a big fine. The same legislation has a no tolerance policy for students abusing teachers and maximum penalties for that. But it discourages, it's amazing. This
incredible.
That's the statute right there.
And this is something that I can tell you as an attorney, and we're coming up on the end of the show, which I'm glad that we've been able to go into this, and there's probably a lot more, and I want to follow up with you on this, by the way. If I get a chance, and I'm just, I know we're in the show, but just so everybody knows, Katie, I'd like to chat with you about this maybe tomorrow, sometimes, and see what we can do about helping you to bring this to light, because this is critical. I knew this was an important interview, but I didn't realize exactly how important. And to be real honest with you, this is exactly what I see everywhere. So what the politicians will do, particularly on the federal level, but they do it on the state level too, they like to take issues that sound great, we're protecting kids. Well, we want a great education. We need more funding for education. You hear this all the time. Well, our teachers are underpaid. We need more funding for education. We need more funding for this. Well, Oklahoma has 50% of its budget going to education. And this is what we're getting. Protection of pedophiles, protection of child rapists. And they pass laws. Well, we can't have, and what they'll do, so they'll take some kid who, some terrible neighborhood, some inner city neighborhood, and they'll show some kids that are misbehaving. We've got to protect the teachers. But the reality is this isn't actually being driven by anything to do with protecting the teachers. If it's about protecting anyone, they'd be talking about child sex abuse with kids. Kids are much more vulnerable. So they pass this law. Well, we've got to protect the teachers. It's not about protecting the teachers. It's about making sure that you keep getting the donations from the insurance companies that are supporting the unions that facilitate the teachers' unions going. That's really the magic here. And that's what we need to talk about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's the last thing I would say is there's a very unholy alliance between our Oklahoma Chambers of Commerce and this insurance company. Currently, they use the Chamber of Commerce to run the legislation or to block the legislation that they don't want. And currently, one of the CEOs of one of the American Fidelity companies is the chair of the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce. So now they completely control their pseudo legislative arm that is also running around the Capitol, getting our laws changed to protect their policies, not our children.
Well, the chambers of commerce are a really interesting thing. And this I found around the country. In any given state, the state chamber of commerce is frequently the most powerful group in the state, the most powerful political activists in the states. It's because they basically have endless money from their various donors. And it's because no one wants to talk about the state chambers of commerce because, well, they're protecting business. We're protecting small business, this, that, and other. The reality is they're typically just protecting the biggest businesses. And we saw that during COVID when everything was being shut down during COVID. Well, the chambers of commerce made sure the big national box stores were open while the small mom and pop businesses were shut down and ran out of business. Then consequently, the big companies, well, they gifted back the chambers a whole bunch of money and, the cycle continued. They protect the big businesses that apparently are okay with child sex predators and perverts, but they don't protect the mom and pop businesses that create a thriving middle class and allow people to get from the bottom to the middle of the top. So this all makes total sense because if you're at the top, you don't want the competition from the small business. You want to eliminate it, which was one of the big side effects of COVID. So this is a profound find because this implicates not just the teachers unions, not just the kids, not just insurance, but this same model is used throughout the economy. It's used everywhere. And it's part of the reason that we're seeing the death of small business and the continued explosion of these major companies, which, by the way, I'm going to enter into some of my conspiracy theory work, which isn't really conspiracy theory. You can look this up if you follow the globalist work. This is how the macro and the micro work together. You're seeing how this works on a local level, but understand it's a well-established principle in the World Economic Forum, Davos, some of these other groups. They don't want small, mid-sized business because it's very difficult to control a population that's standing on its own. If everybody works for the big business, well, you can get fired, you can lose your income. So having these vertical monopolies that we're seeing all over the place, that's why antitrust legislation is never enforced anymore. So what we're seeing, for anybody that follows me enough, and you're going to have to do some thinking to get through this, but you can see here, this is why and how this game is being played, not just in education, but the education ties in with the chambers, and the same thing happens.
A union.
We're at the end of the focus on these national. But
we are
what we see tonight, but it's happening. How bad it is in health when you do something. It inherently everything, including you don't have the teachers. You're less important than bring key. This business model in Oklahoma, it's 1,000 models, and we need you. I'm hoping